If we had done that in the past, where the years of the locusts are gone by, I mean, to be fair to Professor Jega, they have done, we should continue to encourage them. But I do not feel that we are there yet. Election, when you travel abroad and they hold the election, you don't shut down everywhere.
No.
But in Nigeria, you shut down everywhere. Why is it warfare?
Okay, but before we even go into that one, Mark Gini mentioned something that is very apt, which is the issue of taking ownership of the process. Citizens of Nigeria, political parties, taking ownership of the process and not leaving everything to be, if it fails, it's because of INEC. If it succeeds, it's because of INEC. What are we doing as Nigerians?
We need to embark on massive voter education.
You'll be saying that, is it going on? Are they doing it?
Are the political parties doing it?
You'll be saying that for years. They don't do it.
The trouble is, I'm sorry to say this, people who are supposed to be part of the political process are just not there. In the days of my hero, Chief Obafemi Awolowo and his lieutenants, they owned the parties. They were contributing money. And these were well-educated people that were patriotic. Reverse is the case now. I belong to a political party, and what we continue to tell people is that if you say politics is bad, you are not going to get involved. We're not going to bring politicians from the moon to come and govern. In other jurisdiction, the act of service is ennobling. That is, you want the greatest good to be made available to the greatest number. But Nigeria, reverse is the case. So it's a joint responsibility. I agree with him that we're not doing enough. Society is not doing enough. People who are not supposed to go near politics, who are not supposed to go near public governance, are there.
Because good men will not be involved.
So how do we begin to get this ownership to be...
That's the advocacy we're doing here. I recall that Professor Jega, when he was addressing whether EU,
yes,
he said that we need to continuously and all the time educate the voters. I play my politics in the grassroots. It's not Lagos. Majority of the people that vote are older men, largely illiterate, with due respect to them. Because the elites are just not interested. So all this talk about send 2, 3, 4 to GSM, you receive, it's not just going to work with them because they don't have the capacity and there's so much poverty in the system. And that's why anybody can get 200 naira.
You know, Jeremiah Groupman, you talk about cognitive cherry picking. It's literally the medical balance. We're doctors. The last one, when they have a current case, they rely on current past cases, by lashing on diagnosis that confirm their proposition and, relegate the contradictory ones. The truth of the matter is that, as I have said, and I'm quite happy that today I'm sitting with BC, who have done a lot of advocacy in so many areas. The use of the GSM I just said now, not only that's not the only option. We have displayed, we will display. We will ask you to go. When you also feel, we say, okay, this is another option. But I think fundamentally, we are getting certain things wrong in this country. And that is that we don't identify the key stakeholders that will be responsible for a successful election. INEC is number one in driver's seat. The political parties, why are we not focusing on them? Why are we not focusing on the judicial constituency? The role it plays. When Alexis de Tocqueville declared in the US, in his book, Democracy in America, he said, hardly any issue we are in the US that is not resolved immediately for the sake of democracy. As we speak today, there are certain matters that are in court now. If they are not resolved before the end of the first quarter or second quarter, and they are allowed to roll over to the third quarter, close to our election, I am worried. Because
who should be held responsible for such? Is it a responsibility of INEC?
First and foremost,
government.
The crisis coming from the political party, they are getting overwhelming for the judiciary to deal with. All right? Two, if you look, as we speak today, matters of the election of 2011 are still being determined today in court. They are still in court. If you look at the issue about the timetable, this is the Constitution of the Fatherland. This is the Electoral Act. INEC have not acted outside the four walls of these statutory books. If you look at the order of the chapter of the Constitution of the country, Section 1 deals with general provision. Section 2 deals with directive principles. Section 3 deals with citizenship. Section 4, Chapter 4 deals with fundamental rights. And Chapter 5 deals with the legislation. If you look at either Part 1 or Part 2, you will find National Assembly Electoral Section 76 of the Constitution. Similarly, if you look at Chapter 6, you will find the provision dealing with the executive, Section 132 as well as Section 178 respectively. Now, the issue about when you look at the timetable people talk about, INEC, what we have done was even to stay by what have been provided by the Constitution and the Electoral Act. Electoral Act Section 25, Nigeria to go and read. It also states the way this election to be conducted. Now the question is, Alero just picked up a while ago. We have acted within the four walls of the law in fixing that election. And I should be thinking that those who will write political examination should be focusing on the syllabus. And that syllabus is engagement with Nigeria people. If you look at what is going on, all the cases that are in court now, whether it's about cross-carpeting, they define the electoral environment. The message being sent outside the world is that something terrible will happen. And that is very terrible. And that's why the court must deal with this matter as quickly as possible. We know that, relatively speaking, compared to the US, the political party existence is just less than 15 years old. Republican is 186 years old. The Democrat is 186 years old.
Okay, Mr. Digby.
But the fundamental point is that
I do beg your
for
pardon.
us, we are committed to the process.
Okay.
If the process is okay, the outcome should be.
That is very encouraging. Now, Mr. Digby, Professor Jega, in giving out the timetable, said that the decision is to allow for a period of litigations by candidates in the election, which is what we were talking about as this segment was opening. Are 3 months enough to clear all the legal brouhaha that may arise from the elections, bearing in mind that in some states like Edo and Ekiti, it took years before the court actually ruled and governors were ousted and new ones were sworn in?
It's tough. Tough in the sense that we operate a system that is dysfunctional, and therefore, I said it. There are still litigations ongoing. 3 years down the line. The judicial process, as you know, is also a microcosm of the entire Nigerian situation. We can only continue to engage ourselves and ensure that we subscribe to international best practices.
But BC, I recall that during the time that the Electoral Act was being put together, there were suggestions that there should be a time frame within which these cases must be dispensed with.
It's there, but a lot of factors. It's one thing for you to have statutory provisions. It is yet another for it to be practicable. We have some laws that we call dead letter laws. They're not just going to work due to a variety of reasons. We know some senior lawyers engage in acts that are unprofessional. We also know that allegations of bribery and corruption always flying around. I don't want to look at the symptoms. I'd rather look at the disease. And that's why some of us have been advocating that we need to look at the structural framework